welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. That opening video gets me every time, and we just want to thank Brenda Warren for doing that for us. I know it's been a while since I gave her a shout out, but she's on my heart tonight, so I thought, I will just put that out there. So I'm excited because we have another fantastic author in the house. So, Bonnie, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am good.
So,
I appreciate
Bonnie,
you having me on.
well, and we appreciate you saying yes.
Mhm.
And Bonnie is one of the 10 authors in this amazing book, Bringing New Words to Your Body Conversation. And so, this is Bonnie's first time being a published author. We just found out something incredible about her, but I don't want to share that in case she doesn't want the world to know yet. Um, but yeah, first time published author, Bonnie. So, tell us, what did that feel like?
Um, Surreal.
Surreal.
When when Jennifer asked me to be an author, I'm like, why would anybody want to hear my story? And what do I have to share with other people that would help them? And I debated back and forth whether or not I should do it. And then I thought, what's it going to hurt? If anything, like Vicky, Blair said, if it helps just one person, then we've all done our job. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Bonnie.
So I am married. My husband Eric and I own a laundromat and tanning salon, and then I am also a advocate of doTERRA essential oils, and I am a former teacher of 25 years, and I am the youngest of eight. So I come from a very large farming family. So yeah, so each of us live, actually where we live is 3 miles from where I grew up and 3 miles from where Eric grew up. So we live smack dab in the middle. And unfortunately, we only have his mom left. His dad passed, and then my mom and dad passed. So
Oh,
yeah, so
wow. Smack dab in the middle.
smack
That
dab
had
in
to
the
be in
middle.
kismet. When
I
did you
know,
meet
right?
your husband? When you were growing
Oh,
up?
actually, when we were, I was probably junior high, high school. My dad, he worked at the auto parts store here in our town, and so my dad would go in and get parts, and there was him and a couple other guys, and of course they had a uniform, and so you know about a man in a uniform, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, during high school we would go in every so often and pick up parts or whatever, and then I went away to college, and I came back and. I don't know. We were cruising town one night, and my sister and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's where you go in the lap around town. And him and his uncle and a buddy were standing in front of his uncle's place. And every time we go by, he would do this like clockwork. They, all three of them, like, and would wave. And then my sister got the crazy idea to pull over. So, but I had known him from then. And my dad actually told him, which I don't know why, but he told him, he said, don't even get any ideas about marrying my daughter. So, and we ended up getting married. So, yeah.
I love that. It's funny. I got married late in life, and so I always these men and women that get together like in school, like that fascinates me. Those stories
Yeah.
fascinate me because I was never blessed to have anything like that. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I dated till I was like 21.
That's
Um,
interesting because I didn't either. I mean, I could count the number of, I was shy, if you can believe that. I was shy. And so I think I had maybe 3 dates in high school and maybe five in college. And so we dated for 5 years before he even proposed for me. But yeah, we were older when we met up. So
and
um, yeah, those high
that's
school heart stories always get you
right.
right there.
It's just like between that and the military stories when they come home
Yes.
from
Yes.
deployment, like
Hmm.
I sit there and cry. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
those types of stories. Um,
Mhm.
so you decided to say yes to Jen, and you
Yes.
said, "Okay, I'll write my chapter." So what is your body conversation?
So mine is kind of a couple of things, and I still don't know for sure if it flowed right and I got my message across, but mine started out with weight. I have, like I said in the book in my chapter, I have always had an issue with weight. If I could Well, and I brought the book with me because I just think I need to read this opening line, if you don't mind.
No,
It says,
sure.
I often tell people it is a good thing that I've never smoked, drank, or did drugs. If I had, I would most likely be a chain smoker, an alcoholic, or a drug addict. I don't mean that in a derogative way, but my love for food has all the feels of a true addiction. So, yeah, so that is, I start out with that. And then from that weight issue, I kind of tucked into myself, came probably what would now be called an introvert, and then just kind of hid for a while. So, and so then that is kind of in the middle of my chapter. I went to being able to come out of that and actually not so much necessarily the weight is going to be ongoing, ongoing and hopefully off going, and then just hiding away and then actually being able to come back and being seen. So
Bonnie, like I said, I read your chapter for the first time today and it blew me away. Like you did write it so eloquently and I
oh,
loved it
thank you.
flowed. So don't worry about that. Like I was reading it, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And your story is similar to my mom's. My mom grew up on a farm. She was a farm girl.
Hmm.
And she met my dad when she was 16. So I know it's the age difference between you and your husband are different, but growing up on the farm and you ate meat and potatoes. That was what she grew up with.
Yeah.
And back then you celebrated everything with food. Every everything celebrated with food, and then every emotion brought food to it,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
um living on the farm, like the story she used to tell, it was so similar to yours. I felt like I was reading my mom's story. So
Mm. Yeah.
thank you for writing it
Oh.
because I'm going to have to share. I'll see my mom this weekend, so I'll have to share it with her. She doesn't even know this book came out. She can't keep up with what I do.
Oh.
But like I said, thank you for writing that because there's somebody out there, that we don't. I mean, I live in the city now, but the farm girls don't get the attention anymore. And it's really
Yeah.
good. I'm really excited to be talking to you on this show
Yeah.
because let's face it, there is a little girl out there right now that's facing the same things that you are, and just facing those things where food is your addiction of choice. And
Yeah.
like you said, you did all that work on the farm but the, back I don't know about you, but back in the day I remember stories where they used to cook with lard, especially on the farm and all that. Now I just shudder just thinking of that.
My mom never cooked with lard, but I know we used a lot. Well, I guess Crisco would be a type of lard, but I do remember her with that big tub of Crisco,
Yeah.
and butter. Oh, and we got our butter, like I said, right from the cow. I mean, our butter came, the milk went away and came back as cubes of butter. The milk came right from the bulk tank. And to this day, if you have never experienced, and your mom probably can relate to this, if you've never experienced an ice cold glass of milk right from the tank, which would be kind of right from the cow, not filtered at all,
Mhm.
you've missed out because it's delicious. It really is. Some people would probably like curl their nose up, but it
Yeah.
certainly doesn't taste like anything that's in the store nowadays. So,
She didn't have cows. She had horses and she had a goat named Mandy.
okay.
And so we
Okay.
used to we used to my brother and I, believe it or not, now nobody who knows this is something nobody knows. My brother and I would take turns milking the goat when we were at my
Okay.
grandfather's.
All
And
right.
so I don't think we ever drank it though. I don't know what
No.
he did with it. I don't really remember what he did with it. But who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but that's something I didn't remember that story until just bringing
Um,
that stuff with you. So that's
yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It just, I don't know. And then, of course, when you were drinking milk like that, then your bones are going to be super healthy. So,
Yeah,
that makes you a little bit more bigger boned and stand out a little bit more and not be the traditional womanly figure that, you're supposed to be. So that
yeah,
was always a big issue too. So
yeah. Now, were kids mean to you and saying
I think
things?
so.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it must have not have been like in every school there was always the really popular, the medium popular, and then the so I was kind of caught in the middle. um And so, but I remember kids, I mentioned in the book, like in sixth grade, I was way overweight and I had that picture. I don't know where it is, but I wished I could find it so I could just burn it because then it would be out of my mind. But I was definitely overweight. And
Oops. I'm sure she'll be coming back. She might have got a phone call. uh, that's what happens on cell phones. You get the phone call and it messes with the streaming. But yeah, if you get a chance, definitely get your copy of bringing. Oh, there,
there
she's
we go.
back.
Am
There
I
we go.
back?
You're back. Did you get a phone call? Oops. Oh, there you go. You're
Oh,
back.
sorry. I guess I shouldn't have used my phone.
That's
Um,
okay.
so where were we? Oh,
Um,
the sixth grade picture. So, just seeing that picture, I can still picture it in my mind. So they had to have made fun of me because in sixth grade, kids are mean. But growing up, Kimberly and I were talking before the three of us were talking just before this started, and we talked about growing up in the church, and my parents were very religious, and my mom, it was covered from chin to toe, and so we wore dresses with pants underneath until probably about fourth or fifth grade. So we got teased about that a lot. Being a young being the age I was and having parents that were 42 and 44 when they had me, I was teased about having, grandparents instead of parents.
mhm,
And then just my weight, I know I had to have been teased about that. Um,
mhm.
Probably not enough to actually, it didn't hurt. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, and that's obviously a good thing because I mean, I remember getting bullied all through public school, which to this day I
oh,
didn't realize how
crud.
much that had affected me until recently. But kids are cruel.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, and but
Oh, my word. I am so sorry. I don't know where I went to.
it's okay. There you go.
Am
Uh,
I back? I can only see
yeah,
part of me.
yeah, you're back.
Okay.
I can see the full you.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, well, kids are kids, and
They are.
it's funny, and I would have thought that by now that society would have changed and the way of being would have changed, but kids are still cruel because I know that my stepson gets picked on a lot, and it really drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
really, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Well, and the other thing too is I think as adults looking back, why do we let those kind of things bother us? Because in once you get away from school and you start living your life, it
Mhm.
really doesn't really matter anymore. But I don't know, for some odd reason, it just seems like those things are really important during that time and
Mhm.
it affects you all the way around. So,
Yeah. 100%. And, I think, well, it depends on the amount of bullying too. Because I mean, mine was like pretty regular and it
mhm,
lasted from grade 2 to grade 9. So that was a lot.
yeah.
Um, and it was the same people over and over again. Um, a bunch of guys, but that's okay.
Yeah.
To see them now, I just like, whatever.
Yeah. So you still see these
I have not seen these guys since I left school, but I know, like, I've seen them on Facebook,
uh-huh.
and they've changed.
Yeah.
Their features have changed, and so now they're on the other side where I was growing up, right? And so, you know, they packed on the pounds, some of them, and
Yeah.
and 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 it's just like, well, karma.
Yeah.
But I would never say anything cruel to them,
No. And it
and
is funny because a lot of my co classmates, they are totally like they have packed on the pounds and they are not doing a whole lot with their life at this point. And I think, well, you're right. Karma, like it gotcha. So, yeah.
Karma is more than the guy on the Chiefs. Let's just say that. The
Yeah.
Taylor Swift song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I know of it. I just saw it because my husband had something to say about it, so that's why I remembered it. Um, anyways, but yeah, so yeah, I really appreciate it. Each one of our stories is completely different, and I
Yeah.
love that about it because it's 10 different women, 10 different stories, and some have similarities, but I really like the down home feel of the country girl, right? And so there is a lot of people out there that are going to resonate with your story, um, Bonnie, and it's really important that people see every aspect of us. Like some, on social media, sometimes we can portray just like the great things, right, that happen in life, but there are some things that have not been so great,
Right.
right? And in sharing those stories, we in our vulnerability is where we help people.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I just, like I said, it was hard to write it, but I'm glad that I did because it's almost like a purging. I'm sure you kind of feel the same way. And I know
Yeah.
the other ladies. I don't know all of the ladies that are in this book, but
Mhm.
I feel like I feel better because I have written it, even though it was tough, to write. And we all were very vulnerable. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And you said that your sister had come up to you later and said that she did read it.
yeah.
So what was that like for you?
Well, and like I said, we were making cider. We were at the farm that I grew up at, and my brother has a cider press, and so we were making homemade cider. And so she just came. That her and her husband arrived, and she came right up, maybe 10 minutes after she got there, and gave me a big hug. And she said, "Bonnie, I read your story, and it was amazing." And I just stood there and I'm like, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then haven't had a chance to really stop and or get back a hold of her and say, "I'm sorry, I just had like I almost felt guilty because I didn't react in a very positive way, but I think I was stunned. I was stunned that she had read it." And yeah,
Right.
so, and it's funny because growing up with seven other siblings, we all saw the life we had differently. We all see it differently. And some of us remember stories and others don't. And some of us view the story differently than others do. Um, and my dad was a very tough person. And um, in fact, in his eulogy, I called him the bull of the farm because my analogy was he was the bull of the farm. And if you didn't do what he wanted you to do, then you ended up suffering the consequences. And so you lived with that. And we knew he loved us. He never used those words, but we knew that he loved us. And so, you know, you knew that, but you didn't know it. They weren't very affectionate. Even my mom wasn't really affectionate. And so, I definitely, that kind of affects you too. So, um, but we as a family have gotten to be more affectionate. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's something to be said. My mom, growing up, my dad was more the affectionate one. Not to say that we knew my both parents loved us, but it wasn't until after we grew up that my mom really showed really told us how much she loved us. Like she showed
uh-huh,
it, but the actual words of "I
right,
love you," right, and things like that. Especially since my dad passed away, it's been like a complete night and day difference. And I
hmm,
think some of that has to do with, like, she was 16 when she met my dad. My dad was 4 years older. She grew up on a farm. She was very sheltered. She lived a sheltered life. My dad lived in the big city in Windsor. She lived in Cottam, very small rural area. For anybody in Ontario that knows that, like, you would really have to, it's like a speck on the dot. Uh, and so growing up sheltered versus how my dad was raised, it was, my dad was the oldest of five, my mom was the oldest of two, but she wasn't working. She got a full-time job in a nursing home when she was 16. um, ended up quitting school at 16, but going back and
Wow.
getting her grade 12 after my nephew. When my nephew graduated from kindergarten, my mom graduated from high school.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Uh, but she like highly intelligent. Like this woman
Hmm.
can do. I mean, I can't do crossword puzzles. To me, I have no clue. Like the no clue, but like highly intelligent. And I think she grew up on the farm. If she was constantly working, so she wasn't working at a day job. She was working on the farm, and I think there's something to be said about that. The differences. Not that it's bad. It's just different, right? And
It's interesting that you said that about your mom, because my mom never finished high school either. And that always bothered her a lot. But man, she could figure things out. Like her mathematical skills were unreal. And like I said in the chapter, her baking skills and cooking skills were out of this world. Even to this day, like the thought of her homemade bread or her homemade cinnamon rolls, like they just make your mouth melt, because she was just an amazing, but that always kind of, I guess we really didn't, because she wasn't very, I don't think I knew about it until probably I was grown. But I think she always felt inferior, but she literally, that's what she did. Her job was raising us and working on the farm. And she got up and milked cows until I don't know how old she was. She was still milking cows, but that was what she was, and out driving tractor. I remember coming home from kindergarten, because back then it was half days, and hopping on the tractor and riding with her and falling asleep on the tractor because that was her job and she was willing to get out there and work. She's one of the hardest working ladies I know.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. My mom's very hardworking.
yeah.
Sh Her health, her health got in the way, and so when she got a little bit older, and she had, then it wasn't as much, but very hardworking and very crafty. Oh, my mom is very crafty. If she's
Mhm.
not making cards, she's crocheting or knitting, always keeping
Uh,
busy.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I have to ask, what is it like being the youngest of eight?
Um, my family will, all of my siblings will tell you I'm spoiled. And I don't believe I am, but um, yeah, it really was kind of like three different families, because my oldest sister and two brothers were kind of like a family, and then
Mhm.
my brother and sister, the next two down the row, were kind of a family, and then my sister, my two oldest sisters and I were a family. So the older siblings always actually were old enough to be my, in nowadays world, old enough to be my parents. And so they were pretty much out of the house when I came along. And so my sister would come home every weekend and stay the weekends with us. So we'd always wait anxiously. She worked at Kmart's for forever, which is a store, a large store. So she would bring us treats home. So we always waited for her to come home. And then obviously my brothers were there because they were working on the farm.
Okay.
So I think I probably was a little spoiled, but my mom treated all of us. She was very adamant that we were all treated like all the same. And, a couple of us were a little bit more headstrong than others. So we didn't always get disciplined the same. Like for me, all my parents, my dad, all he had to do was say, Bonnie, and I was done. A couple of my other, siblings, they probably ended up getting smacked on the bottom, but for me, it was that voice. And to this day, I still have memories of, him just saying something and then I was done. But I think I mean, we all still speak. We all live. My oldest sister lives the furthest away. She's about 45 minutes away. But when we all got together to do the cider press, my one brother wasn't there, but the cider pressing, and we all speak. We don't always get along, but um, usually when a mom and a dad pass away from a family, sometimes that causes hardship, and then siblings don't talk, but we all still talk. And if anybody needs anything, we're all right there to help. So my mom and dad raised us in a good way that way. Um, you know, in fact, just the other night I went out. My brothers, they own the property around our house, and so I went out and And I remembered my mom used to always do this, pack the sandwiches and take them out to the field. And so I ran some stuff out to my brother because he's all on his own. He doesn't have a spouse or anything. And so whenever they're out there, I try to take food out to them. And it brought back good memories of, my childhood when we used to take the truck out and put the tailgate down and have our little tailgate party before we knew they were tailgate parties. And
Right.
yeah, so yeah, I enjoy growing. I can't imagine not growing up in a big family, I guess. So
Right. That's awesome. I only grew up with two of us, my brother and I, and my dad was the oldest of five. So he, in between there, so he knew what it was like to have a lot of siblings. But I can't imagine it. But then again, it would be cool because, like you said, you the different ages and that it'd be like having second and third parents.
yeah,
And everybody, I like the fact that everybody's there for each other.
yeah,
We may be small and mighty, but we're always there for each other. We
yeah.
can tick each other off like no end, but we're always there for each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. And then and then obviously with that many siblings, then like I said, my brother never married, the one that's still on the original homestead, he never married. And then Eric and I don't have any children, but all of my sister that's second up to me, she has a stepdaughter, but all my other siblings have children. And so I had lots of nieces and nephews, and now lots of great nieces and nephews. And I'm not close with all of them because they've kind of spread out. But my mom was the type that on holidays, if you weren't at her table, then she wasn't speaking to you for a couple of weeks. So, and Eric grew up, my husband grew up in a family of just him and his sister. So, and his like extended family was huge. And so he was familiar with getting together. But when he came to our house, he was like, oh my goodness, like there's too many people at this house. So, but my dad loved him, so that's all that mattered. So
Right.
yeah, he was one of his favorite son-in-laws. So
So do you still do like the big, like at Christmas, you all get together?
we do, but we don't get everybody together. The siblings are usually always there. We try to make sure that all the siblings are there. Most of the spouses are there, and then the nieces and nephews don't always show up. My oldest sister, her son and daughter are always there, just because they really don't have anywhere else to go. My nephew's not married, and my nieces, his family are gone, so they're always there. And then the other ones are sometimes there, sometimes not, because they're doing their own thing. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Yeah, and that's awesome. I love the fact that you make an effort to stick together.
we
I
do.
miss Sunday dinners. I really do. I was
Yeah.
just like, in the hustle and bustle of life, we used to always. I can remember growing up. My mom's parents are divorced, so if for holidays we had like three giant meals,
Mm.
and thank God my mom's mom liked to have it at noon, and then we would go to my dad's parents, and then the next day we would have to go to my mom's dad's. And so it was like big meals, and it was good food, but
Yeah.
a lot of food within two days. And I remember the one time we had to go to all three at one day, and I was like, that's
Mm.
just too much. It's way too
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
But I really would love to bring the Sunday dinners back, but then again, that's football, and that would not be well with my husband.
Yeah, we used to do, my mom was always big on Sunday dinner, and not everybody came home for it, but I remember growing up, Sunday dinner was an important meal. And being on the farm, other than during the summer and fall when they were doing work, if you were living at that household, you were at that table for a full sit down meal. There was no TV meal. I mean, the meals in front of the TV or anything of that. In fact, as a kid growing up, we didn't have a TV in my house. So that again made me, and I didn't even mention that in the book, but um, yeah, we did not have a TV. So we were ostracized for that too, because who doesn't grow up without a TV? But my dad was adamant that we would not be having a TV. So until my mom won one he sold seed corn, and she would win door prizes right and left whenever they went to any of the events. And so she won a little TV, and we put it down in the basement, and we were allowed to go down there and watch it. And we had the old crank antenna. And
Right.
yeah, until my grandma her mom moved in with us, and then she had to have a TV because we would, as kids growing up, we would always say, "Oh, can we go to grandma's?" Because we knew we'd be able to watch TV. And
Right.
so when she moved in, we got a TV, and then the TV never left. And my dad, in his last few years, it was on in the beginning, the minute he got out of bed till the minute he went to bed. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny because funny you mentioned that because we always had TV, and my dad, he had been retired 15 years prior to him passing away because he had some medical issues. And that man watched TV from the time he got up to the time he went to bed. And he was one of the original ones that had, I think they had the very first TV on their
Oh,
crescent
oh, wow.
growing up. So that was huge because they would all go to the Grams
Uh-huh.
for TV. Um, but yeah, and I remember going to sleep with the TV,
Uh,
and now I don't watch it. It's on sports, like it's on because my husband puts it on. Once in a while, I'll like to watch a movie. But really, I would have been really happy without a TV.
Well, and we don't have one. I came full circle because we don't have one. But I do
Yeah.
have a couple of apps that I watch on, my on my phone and stuff. But we actually, when we first got married, we got one because again, Eric grew up with the TV, and then it just seemed like all he was watching was new shows and whatever. So, and then one day he just decided I don't need this anymore. So we just got rid of it. So, and it actually is not a, well, it is a kind of because we're both on our own little devices, but yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, so
So,
full
Bonnie,
circle.
your mom's a great cook. Are you a great cook?
I can be, but I don't have patience. So I'd much rather let other people do it for me. I can make I found a real simple recipe to make a mean cauliflower soup. It tastes amazing. I can make chili. I never make it the same way twice. And actually, with the cauliflower soup, I actually switch it out to broccoli and potatoes. But if you ask my husband, he'd probably tell you I'm not the greatest of cooks. But and I can bake. I love my actually my thing to bring to the dinners, holiday dinners, is the ham because I cook it like my mom used to cook it. And then if I have to bring the sweets, it's marshmallow Rice Krispie treats because I make, not gonna lie, I make the best ooey gooey marshmallow Rice Krispie treats. So
Well, when I make my way over to Michigan again, we'll have to get together and have Rice
I'll,
Krispie treats.
they are, I do them in the microwave. They're so easy, but I don't, my secret is I don't put all the Rice Krispies in. So then you get extra marshmallow in there. So yeah,
I love that. Have you ever tried it with peanut butter in it too?
I have not. No.
It's pretty
I
good.
mean, I've had them before, like other people have made them with the peanut butter and then the layered on and then
Yeah.
chocolate on top. But
Yeah.
most of the time, I just strictly do just plain up Rice Krispie treats. So
I love it. I love
yeah,
it, love it, love
yeah.
it.
So, and I can make an apple pie, or any, well, not any kind of pie, but like a fruit pie. I can
Right.
make that. But again, my kitchen isn't set up to be like a baking kitchen. And my sister is an amazing, she got the skills. Actually, all of us got the skills from my mom. My oldest sister used to be a cake decorator. And then my next one down, she actually does Christmas cookies. She has these beautiful trays that so we just order them up and we give them to our people for the commercial account businesses that we do. But she does a variety of different cookies. She does a lot of canning. And then my other two sisters, they are also good cooks. So yeah. Our holiday meals are still loaded with way too much food. And good food too, quality
Right.
food.
Right.
So
Do the boys cook at all?
um I don't know. I don't. I think, well, my brother does because he has to survive. I mean, we all make sure he's taken care of, especially my one sister. She'll make sure he has all of the groceries and stuff, but he knows
Mhm.
how to cook. He usually does a lot of grilling and stuff.
Right.
And she'll run Sunday dinner out to him. But I'm not for sure about my other two, my oldest brother and my youngest brother of the three. I'm not for sure I think they could probably do it if they wanted to, but I know my oldest brother's wife is a very good cook also. So I think she makes sure she covers his meals for him. So, and my husband knows how to cook too. He cooks his own breakfast if he's at home. And then sometimes he'll cook different things for dinner. So,
Oh, there you go. So
yeah,
why should you have to cook, Bonnie? If you got a husband
I
that's
know,
willing to do
right?
it,
Exactly. And then he can't complain if it's not the right way. So, yeah. Sometimes we'll cook together. Sometimes he'll grill and then I'll do the sides and stuff. So, yeah. And then
I love
sometimes we're not home. We eat out way more than we probably should, but we're trying to help support the economy. That's how I look at it.
that's hey, that's the best. It's funny because my mom used to always say, growing up, my mom never cooked. It was well, not true. She would on holidays she would make cabbage rolls or pierogies. Um, but historically she would never do it until I would say about 5 6 years before my dad got sick. Then because they were both home, so now she had no choice but to take her turn. But my dad was usually the one cooking. She's a really good cook, but she always used to say, I'd rather just support the economy and eat out instead of making it herself. So
Yeah. Yeah, we have some mom and pop places here in Sandusky and in Croswell. And so we try to support them. So, because it's tough right now. It really is. So,
yeah.
you know, yeah.
Tony's, especially. I went to Tony's. That's more in the Port Huron.
Oh, that's in the Saginaw area. If you're
Yeah.
talking about the Tonys where you get the
Yes.
big, huge rasher of bacon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Tony's. We don't go there. We don't get that way very often. We've been there
No.
a couple of times, but yeah, that place
I.
is amazing.
We went when we came back up from our honeymoon. We went to. So this was five. It would be 5 years on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Happy
so
anniversary.
thank you. On our way home, we stopped in Port Huron in that area. We spent the night, because they have all that big shopping plaza.
Yeah.
And we went to Tony's. And I'm telling you, I've never seen so much food in my entire
Yeah.
life. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely, it was like 2 or 3 meals,
Mhm.
what we did get. But yeah,
Well, the saying is the deer hunters will stop there on their way up north to deer hunting, and they'll get the rasher bacon and they'll have a sandwich, and then they'll wrap up the rest of it and take it with them and use that for their food for, the next 2 or 3 mornings for breakfast. That's how much you get. So,
yeah. It was wild the first time
yeah.
I saw that. I've got to take my steps on there because that kid can eat a pound of bacon himself. It's unreal.
Well, who doesn't love bacon? Like,
Yeah.
it's just a staple, I think.
Steve,
So,
love it. Love it. Love it.
in
Love
fact,
it.
that's what I had for lunch today, a BLT. So,
There you go.
uh,
Cool. So there was one thing you said before the show that you didn't say in the book that you wanted to talk about on the show. Do you remember what
yes,
that was?
it does. I did.
All right.
So, I don't know if you've ever heard about the dash, the year you are born to the year you die, that little dash that goes in between there. And
Right.
so, over the course of the last probably year, 2 years, I've really worked hard at obviously being seen and just accepting myself for who I am and helping others. And so the other day I just popped into my head, you know what? Well, first of all, it always amazes me, and this may sound a little gruesome, but it always amazes me how when you attend somebody's funeral, some people have like thousands of people show up for the funeral. And then other people only have a few people show up for the funeral. And it's like, why? What is this one person done that this person hasn't, or what, and even some of them that aren't even really that seen or are really involved or whatever. And so that's just a question I have. What makes one person more popular, for lack of a better word, than the other? And so over the last probably year, I've really worked hard at doing things, showing kindness and sharing kindness and doing things in my community. And like in my book, I with the help of my essential oil company, we brought 45,000 in the local community. We brought $45,000 to our two shelters here in town. And so I just decided that I'm filling my dash. I'm accomplishing my dash so that when I leave this earth, hopefully people will remember what I have done. And not that I want not that I'm trying to brag or anything, because, my parents, that was a no no. You don't brag, you're seen and not heard, but just so that people will maybe carry on with, showing kindness to people. Like when I go through the drive through, I always try to read the person that's waiting on me, their name tag, so I can thank them by name. Or if I'm at a restaurant and try to remember our waitress, or talking to somebody on the phone, just making sure people are seen, because I know what a struggle it was for me over the course of the last 10 years of not really being seen. Like being at the laundromat and Eric would be there, and Eric's very, he's tall, he's 6'5", and just very, people see him and they interact with him. And so he and I would be standing at the tables folding laundry, and and they would come in and say, "Hey Eric, how you doing?" and walk right by me, and I'm like, "Okay, like I'm here, what's the big deal?" And I would know them. And so just showing people that I see them, because if you want something, then you need to show that to other people too. So
Right.
just making sure people are seen. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish in my, how many of years I have left here on earth, is filling my dash, making the dash important.
I love that. I love that. And you are always a breath of fresh air, Bonnie. Every
Oh,
single time I'm
thanks.
around you. Like I met you first at the women's retreat
Yep.
a while ago. And I mean, I just like I love Bonnie. And I'm gonna have to make it important. I'm gonna have to make that trip across the border again.
Yep. Well, and the thing of it
Um
is during when I met you, I was really struggling. I mean, and I probably must have hit it very well, because that's where I met the people that I know in this book. All of
right,
you. That's when I met you. Is at, I think I met a group first, and then you came the second year.
right.
But it's interesting how you can hide your feelings, and um, people are just floored when you actually share your stories, and they're like, "Really, Bonnie, that's you?" Because like I would never picture you as struggling like this. So
Right. Well, and and you're a teacher, so the amount of kids' lives that you have
mm,
impacted is huge over the 25 years that you were a teacher.
yeah,
And so I think your dash is like filling the like more than filled the gap because I know that I just know the person that you are. So I'm sure you've made every kid that you came in contact with know that they matter and that they're seen.
I hope
Um,
so.
I can't imagine anything different from you, Bonnie. I really can't.
Well, I'm sure there are a few that are like, "Oh, Mrs. Erb, she was a horrible teacher." But for the most part, I think, in fact, it's actually 27, because I did 2 years at a nursery school, which were my two favorite years. They were my very first 2 years that I taught. I made $27 for a session. I don't know how I survived on that. And I think I did 6 or 8 sessions during the week. So it was not very much money. But even now, just the other night, we did an event for Eva's Place, and one of my kiddos was there, and they called me Teacher Bonnie. And right, he's a police officer now, and right away he's like, "Teacher Bonnie." So just even when I run into my kiddos now, and I remember their names, or at least I remember their faces, they're just astounded that and it's getting harder as I get older, but to remember them. And I'm like, of course I would remember you, why wouldn't I remember you? So yeah.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, I it was the first time I met you, and I was like, man, this woman's amazing. You
Thank
you
you.
know, you just have that the personality, like and always very helpful. And so full of knowledge, especially when it comes to doTERRA oils. Like this is
Oh,
the woman that you need to go to if you have any questions about doTERRA oils. She is the woman. And yeah, I just, you know,
have you ever done the Clifton Strengths test?
I don't think so.
Well, it gives you your top 30, and we did it through doTERRA. And so my top five, I've never opened more than that, but my top five, one of them is includer. And it's funny because I do not have kids. I had the best kind of kids, the kind you got at 8 a.m. and sent home at 3 p.m. and loved on them all day long and had your nights and weekends free. I'm not going to lie. It was amazing. And if I needed the motherly thing, I could go, run and grab a niece or a nephew or whatever. And yeah, so, oh shoot, I just forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, just, oh, I know. So one of my top strengths is includer. And so when I go to places like, again, because I was not always included in things,
Right.
that really stands out to me. So I want to make sure everybody is included and
Mhm.
being, a part of things. So when I go to like my events out in Utah, it's like, okay, do you know what you're doing? Do I'm here if you need. So, and it's weird because I'm not a mom. So, um, I don't know. I don't know if that's something I think that might be something my mom instilled in me too, because she always made sure, that everybody was included in things, made sure
Mhm.
we were all treated this pretty much the same way. Christmas, everybody got the same amount of money total Christmas presents. And yeah, so
That is wild that you say that. My mom was meticulous for that, like
yeah,
to the penny. If she even spent a dollar more on me, she had to go buy something a
yeah,
dollar of value for my brother.
yeah.
Like it was insane.
Yeah. So she
And
did it for two. My mom did it for like probably not eight all at the same time, but pretty much eight,
wow,
you
that's
know?
insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kudos to mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, now's that time that we bring on the amazing Kimberly, our roving reporter. So, welcome to the show, ma'am.
Hey there.
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we can't hear you. I'm not sure why. We could hear you before we went live. No, I can't hear you. How about no?
Oh, uh-oh. I don't feel so bad.
Okay, I can read lips. All right, so she's going to work on trying to get her sound, and and with that, Bonnie, what would you say your three fundamentals are?
My three fundamentals. So I actually put these as we were supposed to choose 5 words in our chapter to use for like your changing your body conversation. And so 3 things that I would like to leave behind or leave with you is the first one is grace. Grace. Always allow yourself grace. And this is the hardest thing for me to do even now. Like my chapter is about my weight loss going up and down, up and down, and up and down. And when you eat that piece of chocolate, or that whole bag of M&Ms or whatever it is, just give yourself grace. Or if you make a mistake, it doesn't even have to be food related. If you say something horrible to somebody, or if you treat somebody differently than what you probably should have, or you've had a rough day, or you've stayed in your pajamas all day, give yourself grace.
Mhm.
That would probably be my first fundamental. And then if you are struggling, ask for help. Don't feel like you have to keep it all inside, because if I hadn't have met Jen, our, co-friend, I
Mhm.
would not be where I am today. And I tell her that all the time. She has helped me so much over these 2 years that we've known each other. And by meeting her, I've met all of you guys. And, the little tribe that we have is amazing. So um, yeah, ask for help. Ask. People are out there, and I think you guys touched on it. I watched Vicky's little um, video, and you guys touched on it last week. Just if that person can't help you, then go find somebody else, because somebody's got to be out there. And I struggled with it for quite a while before Jen actually came into my life. So, and then I think the last one is it's okay to not be okay.
Mhm.
you know
Yep.
Admit that and accept that. And I know it's hard, because even though I wrote that in my book, there are still days that I have up and down days. So it is okay to not be okay, and to admit to not being okay. So
Right. I
those are my
love
three
that.
things. So
Love that. Kimberly, did you get your sound back?
I believe I did.
You did. I can hear you.
So there's this really cool button that I've never hit before called F4 on my computer that it will mute your mic. And I didn't even know that was a thing. So now I do. And, you know, as we say on this show, this isn't our show. This is the Holy Spirit's show. And the Holy Spirit knows what's best. And, I mean, I really have it that was perfect. And your fundamentals, Bonnie, were off the hook.
Thanks.
I especially love the last one. One of the things that we love, Dee, I don't know exactly how many episodes we've been doing the fundamentals.
When I'm not sure. You
Yeah,
started
and
a year
it's okay.
after
No,
me.
no, no, no. It's fine. It's a
Over
lot.
100 anyways.
Yeah, Bonnie, it's a lot. Okay. And we've yet to have the same fundamentals.
Wow.
And
That's real.
they're always perfect, and we know, like, for the audience that hears this show, they will be absolutely stunning for them and spectacular, just like you are. And I'm just really in love with the way you articulated that last one of, like, it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes there's just days where you're like, well, this was just a crap day. Like, today just was not fun in any way, shape, or form. And what I would personally add, on those days, and what I love is those are the ones that truly do make us stronger. And to the degree you can be present enough when they show up, and they're crunchy and they're not enjoyable and you would, like, really want them to go away. When you can get to a place of understanding that, to your point, fundamental one, showing yourself grace, and number two, reaching out for help on those days, the level of miracles and magnificence that can come on the other side of those days, it's like better than winning the lottery.
Yeah.
So I would,
And I'm living proof, because if you guys didn't meet me until after, well, right around the time I started, but if you knew me before you met me, I am a totally different person as to what I was back then. And so if I can do it, then anybody can do it.
and Bonnie,
Anybody.
like, are you open to sharing at what age you were able to do that?
You mean get over it just within the last probably
How old were you?
so it's just been within probably the last 10 to 15 years that I
Okay.
actually struggled. Like, I literally had to take time off and work from teaching. So it was, well, actually, it's more than that. Oh my word, time goes, because I've been out of teaching for 10 years. So it's actually been probably 25 years
Okay.
that this all started. And I know some of it had to do with the fact that I had some female parts taken out.
Yeah.
And that sent me into a tailspin. And then it just escalated from there. And so, those feelings of not being good enough, not wanting even to get out of bed, all of those kind of feelings. And so, and beating yourself up because you don't want to do that. My husband would leave for work. Sundays was always a good one because I didn't have to go to school or whatever to go teach. And so he would leave to go to our laundromat, and I would not get out of bed all day until probably about an hour or two before he got home. And I'd scurry around, try to pretend like I was, and he would always come home and say, "So what'd you do today?" I'd be like, "Oh my word." Like,
Look at all these things I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And so finally I just started saying I really didn't do a whole lot because I really didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And he just kind of accepted it because I physically was not able to do what I needed to
Right.
do. And I tell people all the time, unless you have experienced that level of I don't know what it is, you cannot even be mean to people because there's a disconnect there somewhere. There
Huge.
really truly is. And
Yeah.
unless you've experienced it, you cannot judge people because of that.
No,
But
and it's
because it's
scary.
silent and it's inside and it's not like a physical cut or a broken leg, people think you're just crazy. Just put on your big girl panties, Bonnie, and
Suck
get
it
out there.
up, Bonnie.
Yeah, suck it
Yeah.
up, bunny. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not. You can't. So, but yeah, I just feel like, and am I perfect? Absolutely not. There are still days I stay in my pajamas and chill out for a while, but
Mhm.
I'm comfortable enough with it now that I don't beat myself up about it. most days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all beautiful. And I love that you shared all of that. And what I was actually pointing to is, at what age would you say that you were able to make that shift? How old were you when like the real shift like started to really happen for you, if you don't mind sharing?
Shift for being better. I mean,
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I would say probably just maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Yep.
And how old were you
So
then?
I
Because
was
we don't know your
probably,
age.
oh, sorry.
yes.
I'm
Okay.
actually, I'm actually in my last year of the 50s, so that is hitting me a little too hard. But I
Yeah.
would say probably about 50, 56, maybe.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. And the reason, and thank you, Bonnie, because I know I am like was pushing the, and not everybody's comfortable,
Oh,
sharing those kind of things.
yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you are, because there's like spirit is guiding me. There are going to be people that are going to watch this show that are going to be in their 50s, maybe 60s, that are going to think, well, it's too late for me.
Mm-mm.
And I know you are the light and the love and the illumination and the inspiration for those people to say, oh, no, 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 as long as you have breath,
Yeah,
it can be reversed.
it can.
Yeah.
Like I said, and if you told me this 20 years ago that I would be in this point at this point right now, I'd have probably laughed in your face because it just didn't seem like that light at the end of the tunnel was there. Like it was
Right.
not there.
Right.
And my mom, obviously, you probably know this. God never gives you more than you can handle. That was her favorite saying. God will not
Mhm.
give you more than you can handle. But boy, oh boy, there were times when I thought, oh my word, how much more can I handle? And then you compare yourself to other people, and
Mhm.
you're thinking, well, they have it a lot worse than I have it, but yet. Your personal issues are your personal issues. And again, that whole grace thing has to come into play because yes, their issues may be worse than yours, but you still have to deal with you. So
Yeah, I like to say pain is pain, misery is misery. I was at a funeral. It's a really powerful message, and someone was grieving and just like heart-wrenching grief, and they're like, I shouldn't be like this. She was in her 80s. She had a full. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah,
Pain is pain.
yeah,
Pain is pain. It
yeah,
doesn't, and I love what you're saying, which is very refreshing, is misery is misery. Because I can say that I am, I can take responsibility that I have done that to people where I've been like, listen, you are so blessed, you are so anointed, you have all these, blessings, and this other, like, look at this other person. Like, I really appreciate, because you really pulled at my heartstrings today about, like, no, misery is misery.
yeah,
Misery is real.
yeah.
It's real. And I just love that anybody and everyone who sees this tonight, or whenever they happen to see it, whenever that perfect moment is please reach out to Bonnie, because she's a living testimony, and she is definitely someone who can guide you if you are inside of misery, and like, oh, I shouldn't be miserable, but I am. Like, she's been there. She will hold your hand, and she is an amazing, well, I like to say, spirit in a human vessel, Bonnie. So I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, I am.
And so I know that was there for me to, put in, and make sure everybody knows that about you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a hidden illness. It really is. And and people, unless they see it, they are not going to feel sorry for you. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, you
Well,
just
and to my point, some of us may, even though we see it, we might be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we might still be saying, suck it up, which I will never do again. Thanks to you and the show tonight. So
Oh, well,
thank you so
I
much.
don't mean to be mean, but yeah,
Yeah.
we yeah. And my one of my friends and I were just talking before I came on, and we're just like mystified by the lack of compassion that some people have. She was talking about her friend, her neighbor was down south, and there was an accident, and he and one other car stopped to help this guy He got the guy out of a burning car and saved his life, and all the other cars drove right by. And so we were talking about compassion. Like, people don't want to hear or feel your pain, maybe because they have too much of their own pain. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
to show that kindness, and I guess that would be, I know you only said three, but that's the other thing. Just show kindness.
Mhm.
Be kind to people. Am I kind all the time? Probably not. You get my order wrong at a restaurant, I'm gonna get a little cranky, especially if I'm hangry. So, but I try to be not as nice as I can be, but I'm not perfect. None of us are. So,
Mhm.
yeah, you just really need to be kind. Be kind to each other and compassionate, especially in today's world.
Mhm.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Well, with that mic drop, Dorothy, I hand it back to you.
Oh, thank you, ladies. It's funny because you just reminded me of a story, and I had never even shared this before. Um, when I was 16, I went and helped an aunt of mine who lived out of town. She lived about 3.5 hours away, and I was watching their kids. And her daughter had some mental health issues, like bipolar, and on medication, trying to regulate the medication. And she's a wild child. I love my cousin, and I was always being the oldest. There was it was expected a lot of me to act prim, proper. I apparently had my shit together back then. And so everybody compared me to whomever, right? Because they all put me up on this damn pedestal. And so I remember one day she said to my cousin, "Why can't you be more like Dorothy? Like, so responsible, so this, so that." And to this day, I don't know if my cousin had ever felt resentment towards me back then, but I mean, like, I really wish that my aunt would have never had said that, because that, like, we're all who we are individually. And I know as a parent, it can be really freaking frustrating when, number one, you don't understand your child, you don't understand the disease or the disorder that they do have. And sometimes wrapping your head around that is difficult. But as a parent, we should try and get the help we need so that we can understand what better way to support our children. And I'm just thinking of this now, honestly, because my aunt's gone. So I can't have that conversation with her. But yeah, just, never compare your child or you to anybody else. And especially in front of your child.
Yeah.
Hello. Because I'm sure at one point, my cousin must have had some feelings about that. And I thought of it now. I'm just like, man, I really felt bad at that time. And I was only like 16 at the time. But still, so don't compare yourself or anybody else to somebody else or somebody else's ailments. And if you don't really understand them, then get educated.
Yeah.
I mean, crap, we had encyclopedias when I was growing up, but now we have Google, so we don't need encyclopedias.
Right.
Or you have children that know everything, so look, ask them or look it up and get yourself educated on this so that you can better help your children, or better help somebody in your family, to that degree. And that's what I got to say on that.
Well, you know what? No, it's just too good and it's way too rich. This is a huge show. In that, like, it can be as simple, right, Dorothy? We've learned, and we teach others to remove the word "but" from your vocabulary for the power that it has, right? And this just occurs to me as something similar in that regard, which is, once you know the power of something, it's easy to let it go, right? And your amazing share and your shout out to the audience, which I love, is basically, don't compare. Like, don't do it. Like, it's a dangerous tool, and it will completely destroy a spirit in a human vessel.
Yeah.
It's, competition is healthy, right? Healthy competition is an opportunity to raise the bar versus, My personal opinion is whenever it's a parent or teacher or anybody says, be like this person, right?
Mhm.
Or, the intention, right? Albeit good intention is say like, here's a good example. Follow this example. This is a great example
Yeah.
of like, something that could make a huge difference for you and for you to have your fullest self-expression come into the world, which is all anybody wants because you're so amazing and beautiful and blah blah, right? Like, but historically it's been a real simple, easy thing to do. Is like, well, just be like this person, or why can't you be like this person? Like, whoa, sometimes when we try to oversimplify a message, 9 times out of 10 it causes more harm than good.
Yeah.
And a lot of resentment. And there's that word again. That was my word for the week.
Yeah.
Resentment in the other people. So then they're resenting a relationship that had nothing to, that person didn't even have anything to do with it. It was one simple comment someone made and it could just blow up.
Yeah.
And here I'm thinking about it 30 years later, but whatever.
Never too late. Like
Never
Bonnie
too
said,
late.
it's never too late.
Never too
There
late.
it is. Now you have that tool for the rest of your life, and you can plant those seeds with everyone you meet.
That's
Yes.
right. That's
Yes.
right. So thank you so much, Bonnie, for sharing
you,
your
ladies.
incredible chapter.
I just want to say, even sitting here now and hearing what you guys are saying about me, this just shows you that even though I may look like I have it all together and I've reached the other side, that it's still I'm still in awe of the fact that when people say stuff and they're good things, I still have sometimes a hard time accepting it in. Like, is that really me?
Yes.
So I appreciate you guys. I really do. I guess that's where I was going with that is I appreciate you. I appreciate your kind thoughts and comments and allowing me to come on the show and share my thoughts. And like we've said from the get-go, if we can help just one person, just one, you know. And again, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But also remember that it's not going to be a smooth ride. There are going to be hills and valleys, but you'll have the tools to work through them.
Yeah, well, they'll
Yes.
have your fundamentals and they can reach out to you
There
because
you
they have
go.
your
They
contact
can.
information.
Absolutely. They sure can.
And don't forget, guys.
I may oil them from head to toe, but yeah, they sure can.
So be it. So I can think
So
of
be
worse
it.
things.
That's right. Get your copy today of Bringing New Words to Your Body Conversation, which can be found on Amazon, which is scrolling across the bottom, and we'll definitely make sure it's in the show notes. So get your copy today. Go read Bonnie's chapter. It's absolutely amazing. Like I said, it's a much needed conversation for the young girls that were going through the same thing she did, and for us is a great reminder to just be kind, to give yourself grace, and to, no matter where you're at, just continue putting one foot in front of the other and never compare yourself to anybody else. With that, guys, be unstoppable in all that you do, and remember, same time, same channel next week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Roku, and leave a review. We would be greatly appreciated. Bye for now.